Life shouldn't be hard. Life should be a fun-filled adventure every day. So now start joining up dots. Tap into your talents, your skills, your God-given gifts, and tell your boss, you don't deserve me. I'm out of here. It's time for you to smash that alarm clock and start getting the dream business and life you, well, of course, are dreaming of. Let's join your host, David Ralph, from the back of his garden in the UK, or wherever he might be today, with another jammed-packed episode of the #1 hit podcast, Join Up Dots.
Yeah, good morning to you, and welcome to another episode of the Join Up Dots podcast. What are we going to be talking about today? Well, we're talking about that bit when you're creating a business or you're doing anything that it's just kind of, it's messy. You feel like you're doing lots of stuff, but none of it actually seems to be adding up to anything particular. And I'm in that at the moment. And it's funny because I received an email from a lady called Sarah in Bristol who's basically saying the same things. She's got her friends saying, you should be doing a course, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Her dad thinks she's wasting her time, but she is spending her time just sort of on random hobbies, wondering when the dots will actually join up. Okay. And she actually likes taking apart and restoring vintage watches. And that's what I think is a waste of time. Who needs that? Now, it's a key thing, this, because when you're in the thick of it, when you're in that messy middle bit, you're just the same as the most successful people in history have felt. So you should be proud. You should be proud that you haven't got a clue, because you're trying things. You're doing things that might look useless to the outside world, but are actually very important dots moving forward. You don't have the answers, but by taking those dots, you're on your journey. You're narrowing down. You're finding out what doesn't work. You're testing. Now, I'm going to take you through two stories, because these stories, we've all heard them before, but I think they're useful. And they're two men. They're both legends, really. And both of them would be sitting exactly where you are today, Sarah, and where I am lots of times, wondering why on earth they were doing what they were doing. So let's go back to 1973, right? Portland, Oregon. And there's a kid named Steve. Now, we now know him as Steve Jobs, but back in those days, he was just Steve. And most people know the ending of this story, but they forget the beginning, because Steve has just dropped out of Reed College. He's sleeping on the floor in his friends' rooms. He's returning Coke bottles just to buy food. He's walking 7 miles across town every Sunday just to get one good meal at a Hare Krishna temple. And to most people at that time, he's a failure. He's a college dropout. He's got no job. He's got no plan. He's almost a bum, I suppose. But Reed College at that time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. And throughout the campus, every poster, every label and every drawer was beautifully handwritten. And because he dropped out and he didn't have to take sort of normal classes, he just thought, okay, I'll just go to this class. He was interested in it. He wanted to learn how to do it. And he learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, and he learned about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations. And he became obsessed with what makes great typography great. But the key point to this, Sarah, and this is why I'm telling you this, there was no hope of any practical end to this. And he was just doing stuff. He was probably sitting in pubs with his mates and they're going, Steve, what are you doing, mate? Well, I'm learning how to draw fancy letters with a pen. But you're broke. You got to get a job. That's not building a business. That's just wasting time. And Steve probably says, you know, I don't know, I just like it. I'm just interested in it. And for 10 years, that dot sat there. And it looked like a waste of time hobby. It looked like a distraction. But 10 years later, he's using the very first Macintosh computer with those lessons as part of it. And suddenly those lessons were a key part to his success. He realised that every other computer at that time, the IBMs, the big industrial machines, used ugly fixed width type and they looked like spreadsheets. But because of that wasted class, he designed the first computer that looked lovely when it printed things out. Multiple typefaces, spaced fonts, all the things that we take for granted now. And if he'd never dropped out of college and he hadn't had all that free time, personal computers might still be sort of producing ugly stuff. I don't know. Since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. Now, Steve Jobs didn't learn calligraphy to build a computer. He learned it because he loved it. And the dots joined up later. Now, I think a lot of the time people say, find your passion and you never work again. And I'm sort of really anti that because I think the key thing is to make a business to make money. But I think if you find the passion and you're willing to just do stuff because you like doing it, I think that helps you push through when it gets a bit sticky and it gets into that messy times and when you haven't got the answers. So, Sarah, I think you're doing the right thing, trying things. And don't listen to anyone else because the world is full of people that have listened to other people and aren't living the dream life that was there for them to take. And your dad thinks you're wasting your time. So let's give him another story. You can play this podcast to him because there's another man who thought he'd finished his masterpiece only to have the world rip it out of his hands. Now, he was a young animator. We know it's going to be Walt Disney, isn't it? And he's in the 1920s. He's really ambitious. He believes that he's found his success because he's created this character called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. And it was a smash hit. And he was finally writing his own story of his own life. So he travels to New York. He meets his publisher. He's expecting a raise. He's expecting a pat on the back. And instead, the distributor looks him in the eye and says, we've secretly hired all your artists away from you. And legally, we own the rights to the rabbit. You're out. You have nothing. And he was kind of ripped off. And he walks out of the office. He's got no staff. He has no character. He has no income. He's 2,000 miles away from home. The only thing he can do is get on a train in New York and go back for a 3-day journey back to California. And he's sitting on that train, and you can imagine the shame, and he's feeling that the dots had just led him off a cliff and they were a complete waste of time, and what was he thinking? And he could have spent those 3 days drinking, he could have spent them sleeping, he could have spent them just being just angry. I probably would myself. But because he'd lost the lucky rabbit, he had a void. And the universe hates that. It hates when success has been taken away from you. And on that train, and I mean that totally, every time you get so close to something and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean it's never going to work. It just means that it's not quite right there. So just go another dot. Because on that train ride, he started sketching and he took a dot of failure, the loss of Oswald, and he started playing with shapes and he drew a mouse. And he gave it round ears and he called it Mortimer. But his wife said that's a stupid name, so he just changed it to Mickey. Now, if Walt Disney hadn't been screwed over in New York, he would have spent the rest of his life just drawing a rabbit, and he would have been, I suppose, successful, but he never would have been forced to create the mouse that built the empire. But the disaster dot of losing his business was actually the building dot of his entire future. He didn't know it on the train. He probably felt like a loser, but he kept drawing. He had the passion. He liked doing it. So Sarah in Bristol and everyone else listening, when you're in your garage tonight, I imagine you in your garage because all great empires start in the garage, don't they? Working on those vintage watches, I want you to stop worrying about the why. What you're doing, you're learning the mechanics of watch building, the precision. You're learning how tiny movements create a massive result, and you're training your brain to see things others miss. Now, maybe you won't become a watchmaker. Maybe in 5 years you'll be designing a piece of software or a business funnel or a physical product. But I tell you, that watchmaker's precision will be the thing that makes your work stand out from every other good enough competitor, because you've put the effort in. You can't, as Steve says, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down, he said, and it will change your life too. So for Sarah, fixing the watches, keep doing it. Steve, keep drawing the letters. Walt, keep sketching on the train. And everybody else out there who's doing stuff where you don't know that the dots will join up, just keep doing it. It's when you stop, that's when things won't ever come to fruition. That's when the messy part stays there forever. Because one day you're going to be sitting on a podcast telling your story on join up dots, or you might not want to do that. You might be on a beach and you're going to look back and say, yeah, I can see it now. It'll make sense now. And that's the key thing to life, and that's the key thing to everything that we do through join up dots. You join up the dots to where you want to get to, and a lot of the time you don't know where it's heading until you look back and it all makes sense. So Sarah, keep going, keep us informed of your progress, and until next time, of course, to everybody out there, keep joining up those dots. And if you've got stories of where you're in the messy part, let us know. If you've got stories of everything, drop us a line at joinupdots@gmail.com. We'd love to know. If you want some great business ideas, you can come over to the website. We've got the first part done. Click on the button, give us the information, and we will provide you with 10 really good business ideas that you can start. Tell us how many hours you've got per week, whatever, and that will come straight to your email inbox to get you going as well. And so until next time, you look after yourselves, and you, of course, stay sexy, and we will see you all again. You look after yourselves. Cheers. See ya. Bye-bye.
Waking up your